everyone, this is Ali Raza, a part-time software developer, and today we will talk about the rest of the basics of C Sharp .NET Programming Part Number 4, which is the Volume 2 now. Today we'll talk about the looping and the flow control technique. Looping refers to the repeated execution statements. This technique comes in very handy because it means that you can repeat operations as many times as you want, thousands, even millions of times, without having to write the same code each time. So writing the same code 10 times seems a bit wasteful, and but if you wanted to change the duration from 10 years to some other value, you would have to manually copy the line of the required amount of times, which would be a bit of a pain. Luckily, you don't have to do this anymore. Instead, you can have a loop that executes the instruction you want for the required number of times. Another important type of loop is one in which you loop until a certain condition is filled, which is also known as the infinite loop, which we will talk about later in this article. So let's jump right into the types of the loop. The first one we will talk about is the do loop. Do loops are operates in a very different way than other loops. The code you have marked out for looping is executed, a boolean test is performed, and the code executes again if this test evaluates to true, and so on. When the test evaluates to false, the loop exits. For example, you could use the calling to write the number from 1 to 10 in a column, like int I equals to 1, and then the whole code, and then we write the console.write line and the number we want to write in that, and so on. So here you can use the suffix version of the plus plus operator to increment the value of I after it is written to the screen. So you need to check if I is smaller than or equal to 10 to include 10 in the numbers written to the console. So let's code this little program for the do loop before proceeding further here. Let me erase this for loop example here. Yeah, let's code a quick program for the do loop. Let's declare a variable balance and interest rate, target balance, and colon, and so let's write console dot what is your balance, or let's write what is your current balance. Let's do this. Okay, here we write, let's convert that. You will be confused why we didn't initialize after declaring the variable. We can do that, but that would cause us so much big line in that first line. We have to declare the balance, and then we have to initialize the interest rate, and then we have to initialize the target balance variable. That will take so much long line, and it can't fit the whole screen here. So let's just focus on this one here. Let me just enhance the screen a little bit. Yes, now it is much appealing now and more clear to you guys. So let's convert it into double, definitely, because it has been declared double. So roll dot read line, that's it. And now we will talk about console dot write line. What is your current annual interest rate? So let's talk that in percentage. question mark. Okay, so interest rate we will use the interest rate variable to initialize it and convert it into dot to double. And why we are using double here? Because if we get values like balance in decimal points, then we will be using the for the round off, and approximation will not be necessary here if we use a double. So double data type console dot readline. That's it. And let's talk about the console dot write line. And what balance would you like to have? Now let's write that. So the target balance here, convert that double. Okay, that's it. Let's use here a variable under type int for a very initial value, like what was the balance in the initial years, which is 0 in the very initial year. And now we will go for the do loop here. Let's write the balance into interest rate. Sorry, okay. We have to use the initial years. Let's say that initial years, or I just put the wrong variable there. We could use the total years here, and that's it for the do loop. And now we will put a while loop in order to execute it, because if the balance is smaller than the target balance, definitely then it will execute, otherwise it will not execute. So dot write line, string interpolation. Okay, here we will write in total years and years. We will write as total years equals to 1. And now we will use a XOR operator here. If you have studied listen my previous lecture tutorial. So here we put because why we are doing it, because if total years is greater than 1 or equal to 1, then it will put year with s with that years. So that's how we will determine how many years will be there. So okay, that was this one. Okay, got it. Let's just put that. I could not get confused of it. So you will have a balance of, let's put the balance here. Okay, that's it for the, let's just console dot read key. Okay, let's just run this program and see what happens. Okay, what is your current balance? My current balance is $2,200. And what is your current interest rate? My interest rate is 3.5%. What balance would you like to have? I would like to have a balance of definitely $22,000. So in 2 years you will have a balance of 26,950. So that you can see we have executed very successfully. So now let's move on to our next topic, which is of while loops. While loops are very similar to the do loops, but they have one important difference. The Boolean test in a while loop takes place at the start of the loop cycle, not at the end. If the test value is to false, then the loop cycle is never executed. Instead, program execution jumps straight to the code following the loop. So let's start. Here's how the while loops are specified. So this is how you a while loop is specified. If the condition is true, then it will execute. If the condition is false, it will not execute. This is how let's code it. I'm gonna use the same example here, but in a very different way. I'm gonna keep this line same here, but I'm gonna erase this line here. After that, after adding some lines, I'm gonna put that line after that. So here we will use a very different thing. We will use if statement here, that if total years equals to the 0, then console dot write line if the total years is equal to 0, so then you have to be print this statement, like, to be honest, you don't need a calculator calculate the interest rate. You know the interest rate, you will definitely don't need the calculator. You know the concept how the interest rate works. Definitely your monthly your yearly income is divided by the balance comes with the interest rate. So you can also Google it if I'm giving some wrong vibes about it, because that's how I understood about the interest rate. So let's put here the read key. Okay, definitely indentation is smart here, very smart here. So you can see it is automatically indenting the console read key after that. The total years is never going to be 0 here, so why not just don't put that this equal to the 0, and let's just put that greater than or equals to the 0 point, and let's just run this program and see what happens. My current balance is definitely still $2,200, and interest rate is like about 3.5%, and the balance I would like to have is $22,000. And to be honest, you don't need a calculator to calculate the interest rate, definitely. And the in 2 years you will have a balance of 26,950. That's it for the do while loop. Let's jump into the for loop, which is our basic program now, and we will discuss a lot of amazing things here. Another type of loop is for loop. This type of loop executes a set number of times and maintains its counter. To define for loop, you need the following information: a starting value to initialize the counter variable, a condition for continuing the loop involving the counter variable, an operation to perform on the counter variable at the end of each loop cycle. For example, if you want a loop with a counter that increments from 1 to 10 in steps of 1, then the starting value of 1, the condition is that the counter is less than or equal to 10, and the operation to perform at the end of each cycle is to add 1 to the counter. Earlier you used to do and while loops to write out the numbers from 1 to 10. The code that follows shows that it is required to do this using a for loop. So basically this is how a for loop executed in C#. You use the I variable or whatever variable you would like to execute here. So after that you just run the program. Let's make some animation by using for loop here. We'll be surprised to know that I can also do that. So let's program our very first for loop. Let's use the double variable here. Why I'm using double? Because it can hold so much values in it. So let's do declare two variables here. Actually, we are going to use 6 variables totally. So first of all, I'm gonna use I'm gonna declare 2 variables of any choice by name, and let's start with it. So we will use chord1 here and declare a chord1 and jpg1. Let's and then we will use chord two here, and then jpg 2, and then jpg 3. So and an argument for a better understanding for us, for me basically. So let's start it. Let's program. Let's also declare an int variable here for the iterations. Let's declare our variable for iterations, and we will do iterations after that. So let's program our for loop here, and we will use the jpg1 here, which is equal to 1.2, and that JPG1 is smaller than and equal to minus 1.2. Okay, and after that we will have the JPG1 decrementation of 0.05. So I'm gonna put it here. So we are going to use nested for loops here. It will be gonna so much tough one here today. So keep up with me, guys. So now we will use chord1 as a variable, and we will declare initialize it a value of minus 0.6, and after that some chord1 of the value is smaller or equals to the value of 1.77. I have programmed this animation like taking 2.5 hours long to do this animation on the console screen. I have also built a plane from the Oblivion movie. If you have watched that Oblivion movie, don't go and watch that. That is an amazing movie. You will watch and enjoy a lot. And so this animation of an eagle ray, or you can say as a space jet from Star Wars movie, you will see that in a very short, in a very few seconds after, or in a very few moments later. So let's just program and you will see how it works. So let's code plus equals to 0.03. Sorry, wrong. So our starting iterations are equals to the 0, and let's say that chord2 is equal to chord1, and JPG2 is equal to JPG1. Okay, so and our arg is equal to chord1, and it is let's multiply it with the chord1 again, and let's add them into the JPG1, which will multiply to the JPG1. So we'll have an amazing animation with that. Let's use a while loop here. Use when arg is smaller than 4, and iterations are smaller than 40, then jpg3 is equals to okay, jpg3 equals to the chord 2, which definitely multiplies with its own self, and this is the minus here, in which we will use jpg2 into jpg2, which will minus from the chord 1. So let's talk about the jpg2 here, which is equals to 2 into chord 2. It is gonna multiply with the chord 2, sorry, jpg2 and we will minus these from the jpg1, and where jpg chord, it's too much stuff for me right now. Chord 2 is equals chord 2 is equals to the jpg3. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's move on to the arg now. Arg is equals to arg is equals to the chord 2 multiplying the chord 2 and then adding with the jpg into the jpg2. Here we want the iterations, incrementation, this operator. So that was our while loop. Let's use a switch statement here, in which we will use about like 4 iterations. Now comes the very easy part here. What we want to use in those animations. So we will start with the iterations, which will use a very few months. Why I used a remainder sign here, because I need what will be remaining after what will the functions will be performed here. So that's why I used the remainder sign here for the in the switch statement here for the all the cases here. So I need the 4 cases here definitely. So for that I will use let's start with the case 0, console dot write. So we will not use the write line here. We will use the only the write here, because we are only let's give it a dot here. It will only just write it and it will not study what is going on here. Oh, sorry, got the break thing. Never forget to use the break in these switch statements. Okay, case one. Before going further, I use 4 iterations in this switch statement. So the iterations start from the 0 to 3. So it is not like that I will start from the 1 to 4. It is not like that. In computer, we start from 0 to 3 because 0 has also a value inside it. So, right, and here we will use some small o. Actually, go with the small o and break the statement as usual. Case 2 console dot write. Okay, let's go with the another one, which will be the 0. Let's go with the old big O. Let's go with the big O because 0 will show a small line in it, and that ruin our animation definitely. So console dot write. Write. Why do I forget about that? Okay, so here we will use some @ sign for our better animation display. So that's it for the switch case, and let's go. This is our for loop, and let's write outside this for loop some of the things. Remember your through this line, through this bisecting line, you could know where your loop is ending, where your loop is starting. So this is very easy, where you should put the statement after or whenever inside of that loop or after that loop. This is very now easy for you guys now. So now here we will use the console dot write, and inside we will use we want a space and enter or a tab between these function here. So it will now give us a very brief space there. So we will use n here. You will be confused. Basically, it is used for a brief space. If you want to write some codes on the next line, if you want to write like my name and you want to write Ali Raza on the next line, you will use this symbol and your text will be displayed on the below line. So this is how this will work. And let's go for the these codes. We will use the console read key definitely, because this is not for some for loop here. Okay, are you guys ready for some magic to be performed? Yes, sure. So let's start without debugging. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Can you see that? Can you see that magnificent beauty here? Oh my goodness. An eagle ray, or you can say Star Wars, Death Vader ship, pronounced correctly here. So you can see we have successfully executed our for loop here. So that was it from my side, guys. I hope you have enjoyed a lot, you have learned a lot. So before that, let's talk about some interrupting loops. Sometimes you want to finger grain control over the processing of looping code, and C# also provides a command to help you here. So before that, you will have to use the break which will causes the loop to end immediately. So for that, you can use different things like break command, which causes the loop immediately. This is how you will use the break command. And the continue command, the continue only stops the current cycle, not the whole loop. This is how you will use the continue cycle. And not last but not least, I also discussed about the infinite loops before on the very beginning of this tutorial. It is possible through both coding errors and design to define loops that never end. So-called infinite loops. This can be useful. You can always exit such loops using code such as break statement manually by using Windows Task Manager, which is very a painful method of using Windows Task Manager, and normally it sometimes affects your IDE too. So, however, when this occurs by accident, it can be annoying. Definitely, it is annoying. So consider the following loop, which is similar to the for loop in the previous section. This is how, if you execute it, it will keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and it will just keep writing, keep on going until you use a task manager or press any key. If I don't use here the console read key, then it will keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and definitely then I have to exit the editor, or I will have to use the IDE, I will have to use the task manager to exit the IDE. So that's it from my side. I hope you have enjoyed this session. Stay tuned for the future tutorials. Allah Hafiz.